Hi, my name is Dean Rader. I'm a professor at the University of San Francisco in the English department, but I also teach in the St. Ignatius Institute and the Honors College. On behalf of all of the faculty, I want to welcome everyone to this amazing event for Founders Week. I want to welcome the community of alumni, parents, friends. This is a week-long celebration designed to foster reflection, build community, and provide a space for everyone to reflect on our university's Jesuit missions and values. This week, the USF community has heard from speakers like Megan Rapinoe and Melba Beals. We've all been inspired by their stories, and they've catalyzed us to think about the ways in which we can be active and be our own modes of change. I'm really honored today to have two distinguished guests to help me close out Founders Week. Sara, Agah, Franti, and Michael Franti. Sara has worked as a registered nurse for 10 years and done relief work in Haiti and the Philippines. She's also the co-founder of Do It for Love, Stay Human, and a really cool wellness hotel in Bali called Soulshine, along with her husband, Michael Franti. Michael, as everyone knows, is a musician, humanitarian, activist, and an award-winning filmmaker. He's earned #1 hits with Sound of Sunshine and Say Hey, I Love You. He's also done two of the most important things a human can do: play basketball and study poetry, both of which he did at USF. So please help me welcome Sara and Michael. Guys, I'm so happy that you're here with us.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
We are currently quarantining in Bali, and as you mentioned, we own a small wellness hotel here called Soulshine Bali, and it's a yoga and retreat center and organic rice farm, and it is dedicated to people going deep and having life transformative experiences, but also having a great time. And we were out here leading a yoga and music retreat when the pandemic really came into its fullness. And I was supposed to come back to the States and do 2 weeks of rehearsal and then hit the road for the next 7 months. But during that time when we were here, the airport shut down. And so we, technically we're stranded on a tropical island. But it's been an amazing time to be here and, just like everybody else around the world, reflect on what our role is in terms of creating wellness for ourselves and for our communities and for our country and for our planet, and trying to show up the best that we can to do the work that contributes to the greater good during this time.
Well, I've been listening to your recent album, Work Hard and Be Nice. It's a great album with a lot of really cool songs that sort of run a range of both moods and tempos and lyrics and tones. And I'm hoping you could open by playing a song from the new album.
Sure. I want to kind of play you half of two different songs because
I like it.
They kind of sum up what the record is really about. And although the record was all written and recorded before the pandemic hit, the songs that I was writing at the time were all about how we get through challenging times and hold on to our humanity. And so I'm gonna play the single that's out right now on the radio. It's called I Got You, and it's a song that is really about how when we go through challenge, we need people there by our side who just sometimes could say, I got you. I see what you're going through. I feel you, and we're going to get through this time. And then the second song is the title track from the record, Work Hard, Be Nice. And it's just about the values that I feel are really, really missing in our country and in the conversation that we see taking place out there right now, of people being able to work hard at what they are trying to do, and whether it's work hard for their job and their family, or whether it's working hard for equality, or whether it's working hard for the environment. And then being nice, like treating each other with respect, with kindness, with dignity, with humor, with love, compassion, and showing up for that in our lives. So here we go. This one's called I Got You. I got a feeling deep within my soul, and right now I really need to let you know that time I've fallen down inside that hole, you came and showed me there's a way to go. So we can love deeper, fly higher, see clearer, burn brighter, feel more than we ever did before. Yeah, we can swim oceans, climb mountains, dance like nobody's watching, live life like we never did before. And through the highs and lows, baby, I got you, yeah. And you got me, yeah, baby, I got you, yeah. And you got me, yeah, baby, I got you, yeah. You got me, yeah, baby, I got you, yeah. You got me, yeah. Ooh, baby, baby, let's go on a journey. Sell the house and give away the money, yo. First glance, it might sound funny, but give me a chance, cause we can do anything. I wanna take you on a motorcycle ride through the sugar cane in the countryside. We could take a bullet train to the other side. You and me side by side, so we can love deeper, fly higher, see clearer, burn brighter, feel more than we ever did before. Yeah, we can swim oceans, climb mountains, dance like nobody's watching, live life like we never did before. And through the highs and lows, baby, I got you, yeah. And you got me, yeah, baby, I got you, yeah. And you got me, we got each other, y'all. I got you, yeah. And you got me, yeah, baby, I got you, yeah. And you got me, yeah. Everybody wants a good life and a home. Everybody wants a good friend when they're alone, all alone. And everybody don't want nobody to know that everybody's got a soul with a great big hole in the middle of it. Life's a riddle and we try to solve it. So when it's dark, look on the bright side. And when it rains, wait on the sunshine. Everybody likes getting them good vibes, cause everybody's got a heart on the inside. We could take all the hard lessons, add a little love and turn them into blessings. Don't complicate it, keep it simple. Just work hard and be nice to people. Oh, just work hard and be nice to people. Just work hard and be nice. I don't need a castle or a throne. I'm just trying to do a little more right than I do wrong. I don't want nobody to know that I've got a soul with a great big hole in the middle of it. And I'm just trying to feel a little of it. So when it's dark, look on the bright side. And when it rains, wait on the sunshine. Everybody likes getting them good vibes, cause everybody's got a heart on the inside. We could take all the hard lessons, add a little love and turn them into blessings. Don't complicate it, keep it simple. Just work hard and be nice to people. Just work hard and be nice to people. Whoa, all of us are equal, so just work hard and be nice to people.
That's so cool. Great. Sara, you have a lovely voice. Are you on the album?
You. No, I'm not on the album.
Actually, you are on one song.
like
She's
way,
singing back.
like way in the back. But being in this pandemic and quarantining together, and us having to pivot so quickly, I had to learn how to sing harmonies and support
Nice.
Michael. It's been really fun. It's added a new dynamic to our relationship and our work life and partnership. So it's been really fun.
So you mentioned the pandemic. What do you guys think the importance is of creative expression during the pandemic, whether it's music or poetry or even yoga, which I think of as this sort of bodily expression, you know, putting yourself out there, you know, into this space. How has it been for you as activists to think about the role of what you guys are doing at this particular moment?
Well, we're both advocates of like wellness. And a lot of times people think of wellness, or I would think of wellness as like, I'm going to eat an organic salad once a week, and I'm going to try to exercise Saturday morning, and the rest of the time it's just like whatever happens, I'm being well. But with the pandemic and this health crisis that's come in, it's awakened all of us to the fact that if we don't take care of ourselves and our health, that we could die, or family members could die. And so it's kicked in that idea of what wellness is into a much bigger thing. First of all, we think of our immune system and we think of our bodies, but also we've had to think of like when you're quarantining and you're in a confined space and you're not able to have access to other people, you're not able to do the things you normally do. Wellness is also your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, how it is that we connect with one another. And Sara and I have gone through so much as a family. I always imagined as a musician that I would either be someday that it would all sort of run dry. As a musician, careers are often short, and I've been blessed to be able to do it professionally for 33 years now. But I took every penny that I earned over those years and I put it into building a hotel, because I was like, if music runs dry, we'll have the hotel to live on, Little did we factor a global pandemic into the equation, and our hotel was suddenly shut down. So now we're thinking like, well, how are we going to get through this? I'm an unemployed musician living in a hotel that's shut down, and so we had to really think of first of all, go inside of our hearts and be supportive of one another, like look each other in the eye, take each other by the hand and go, we're going to get through this, and start, like Sara said, pivoting. So I started doing online concerts, doing all kinds of creating new online content. And then with the hotel, rather than sit back and say, oh, let's just shutter our doors, we put our, all our staff, we have over 40 people who work there. We reduced everyone's hours, but we didn't fire anybody. We just reduced everyone's hours, and we're like, let's figure out ways that we can do, create events here at the hotel that are quarantine safe, that and do different packages that we could sell online to keep the hotel going during this time, so we can keep these families that rely on us and depend on us, all with a roof over their heads and foods in their bellies. And so it's been really challenging emotionally, but we've grown so much as a couple. And
I think also what it's taught us is so much about resiliency. And everything that Michael and I do, whether it's our business or Michael's career or my career, we have a nonprofit called Do It for the Love, as you mentioned, and we send people who are to live concerts. And so our mission is, as people in the world, as individuals, is to make people feel significant. And our process was to bring people together. And that completely came to a halt when the pandemic hit. And but what we learned is that resiliency is what's most important. And there's a quote that says something to the effect of, we are only as strongest as the weakest person in our community or the sickest person in the community. And so now we quickly had to pivot, even with our nonprofit, is how do we ensure that there's resiliency in our community and within our family? And so with our nonprofit, now we're looking into, rather than sending people to live concerts to inspire hope, healing, and joy, how can we support community-based music therapy programs who can build resiliency within families who will continue to face hardship? This pandemic is a great lesson for all of us because no one can escape it, but we'll continue to have ups and downs in our life. We're going to continue to have hardships, and they're all going to be relative to each person's lived experience. And so it's inspired Michael and I too to ensure that our mission and all the work that we do is to give people tools to be able to ride the waves of life as we come through the pandemic and just go through like the normal ups and downs. So
now I was thinking about both of your work, as a nurse, as an activist, as a musician, as hotel owners. They all rely on in-personness, right? On connection and community. And so I've been trying to keep up with you a little bit, and you've done some really great things to help sort of foster community even at a distance. But I'm sure you're eager for things to pivot toward a world in which human contact is encouraged and allowed.
You know, when I first started in music, I had this little band called the Beatniks, and we were like punk rock, industrial, super political band. We'd hop in our van and we'd drive from city to city playing at punk rock venues. And at the end of each show, we would say, "Hey, does anybody got a house that we can crash out?" We'd roll our sleeping bags out in some random person's floor and sleep there. And uh, so from that time when I first started in music, I made a commitment to myself that I would always walk off the front of every stage and talk to every fan who was there and just thank them in person, hug them, take a selfie with them, autograph, whatever it was, meet their kids. And that is something that's really meant an incredible amount to me, to be able to have that connection with the people who enjoy my music. And so not being able to tour has meant that we've had to try to create that connection virtually. And so one of the things that we did was we started doing virtual concerts once a month, and our next one is on October 30th. And so what we did is, rather than just do a conversation or a concert where it's just me looking in the camera and doing it, we created these Zoom rooms that people could go in. So there'd be hundreds of fans. There's probably 10,000 people watching online, but there's hundreds of fans in these Zoom rooms. And then we're able to put those Zoom images on the screen, so fans can see themselves in their homes, dancing in their living room. They've got their signs like they would at a show. They're wearing their, Franti and Spearhead t-shirts, whatever. And they're creating this experience that then they can communicate through chatting as the show is going on. So it's, apart from the smell of sweat and maybe a little weed smoke in the background somewhere. Apart from that, it's pretty much like being at a concert, and I was uncertain of it. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then I sort of just wrap my head around it differently. And this is like some advice that I've been given to friends who are in other businesses or other musicians. It's like, if you think of it as, doing your thing that you normally do is like basketball. And if you go into like doing something online, thinking and playing by the rules of basketball, you'll forever be frustrated, because it's as different as playing basketball and volleyball. They're like two different things. But if you just say, oh, okay, there's different rules here. There's a camera, there's sound, there's lighting. Like, how can we make this be the best experience possible for people? Because when we're doing something online, you're not just competing against, in my case, other musicians. I'm competing against Instagram, Facebook, music, Netflix, pornography, like millions and millions of other things that are out there that are vying for people's attention. And I've got to create an experience for people that holds their attention during that. And so it's been challenging, but it's been, like, as Sara said, it's been super fun for us as a family to try to work on it together. And she's done all the technical aspects of it. So she's figured out how to get online and do all that stuff.
And that's the beautiful thing, is that we're able to, for example, do this Zoom call and we're on the other side of the world. And so while nothing can replace, just as Michael said, this one-on-one interaction and being in the same physical space with one another, I hope that we don't lose the value that is there for us to attain or reach or to give back in this online interaction. It's that how beautiful that we've been able to stay in Bali and support this business that we have here, and yet feel so connected to our base and our community and our families. And my mom was just saying, so I'm from Canada, my parents are Iranian refugees, and when my parents came to Canada in 1982, to make a phone call, I remember being 6, calling my grandma, and you literally called the operator and they like moved the cables and there was this huge delay. And so I would talk to my grandparents like maybe once every 3 months. And my mom, we FaceTime, and she said, what a blessing that these tools and technologies have been made available, that we can be so connected. And though we haven't seen each other for 7 months, I can FaceTime with my grandson every day. And so I hope that as we are able to come back together in person, we can still stay in touch remotely as well, and have value in that.
So Sara, you were talking about connecting with people, and Michael, I've seen you perform a number of times over the years, and I always think of you as being one of the leaders in terms of bridging your role as a musician with your role as a human being and a member of the community and an activist. And I was curious what you guys think the role is right now during this year, this really problematic, difficult, stressful, anxiety-making year, between creative expression and social activism.
You want to start?
Yeah. I guess I'll just speak personally. If you asked me 5 years ago if I was an artist, I would say absolutely not. I'm a analytic, and but I think now, like, I've personally gone through a lot of challenges that I have always considered myself an activist, and yet, for example, I haven't been able to be on the ground protesting with my colleagues and friends to support the Black Lives Matter movement. And I've had lots of hard conversations with Michael saying, I feel like I'm such a hypocrite because I'm reposting things on my Instagram, or I'm, sending encouraging words, and I just feel like I can't be there, and I'm here in Bali living a very different life. And Michael said to me, well, you do what you can. And right now, this is what you can do, is to just educate with the audience that you have and the tools that you have. And I think that's been the most important thing, and using the creativity to sustain you. And you can be really worn out, and and this in particular has been a really challenging time where people can burn out very, very fast. And I think the one thing that has really helped me to be sustainable in my voice and in my work is to be very clear on my values. What is the message that I'm trying to communicate in my art and in my work? And for me, for example, is that based on what I've grown up with, is that difference have value and differences are important. And so I hold that really strong, and I use that to inspire me with what I'm communicating. And that's been able to, keep me motivated and energized, is just being really clear on what I stand for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I got started in music, it was because I felt this desire to express what was going on inside of my heart about what was happening in the world. And, for people who don't know my personal experience, I was born to a mother who is Irish, German, and Belgian. My biological father is African American and Nottoway Indian, but I was adopted by the Franti family, who are second generation immigrants from Finland. And they had 3 kids of their own, and they adopted myself and another African American son. And just to round things out, I have one sister who's a lesbian and one brother who's a police officer. So we're kind of like the all-American family. And so when I was a kid, I was raised in a house where my father was an alcoholic. And so as I came out of school and came to San Francisco, I really, as a kid growing up, I didn't feel a lot of times like I fit in with the family I belonged in or the schools that I went to. When I came to San Francisco, and being situated where the school is so close to Haight-Ashbury, I spent a lot of time in the Haight, where there's so much counterculture and there's so many different people. And I met folks from the LGBTQ community during the height of the AIDS pandemic. And I met lots of artists and people from different walks of life, and just experiences that were completely new to me. And during that time, I found a love of poetry and writing. And I found that I was able to put my frustrations about my experience growing up, about things that I saw taking place in the world, socially, about things that I saw taking place politically during the Reagan era, and the Iran-Contra affair, and those kinds of things were like the center of the news. And so I started writing out about all those things, and I felt this like sense of release. It was cathartic for me. And the first time that I got in front of a microphone and started speaking my truths, it made me feel better, made me feel like I was like getting something off my chest that was really weighing heavy on my heart. And then I saw the way that it attracted other people, that people say, yeah, I've been feeling that way too. And maybe there's something we could do to organize to make change and do something differently. But it takes people's mind changing first in order to get to the point where we can change anything on a bigger level. And I think that that's the value of creativity and activism in this time that we're in right now, is that so a lot of us are sitting at home, we watch the news every day and we're going, this world is so effed up. Like, what could I as one person possibly do to make it any better? And the answer is that there's something that each of us have inside of our heart that we can find and express and try to show up and be our best self in the world. And then we can apply that in some small way by dedicating some time each week or each month to serving those things that break our hearts. You know, we look out, like for Sara and I, it's like we had fans come into our shows who were sick and dying, and we were like, there should never be someone who wants to go to see live music who's sick and dying who shouldn't have access to it. So we started a nonprofit to bring people who are sick and dying to concerts, and wounded veterans as well. And then the final thing is, when we don't have the amount of time that we wish we could dedicate because we're working, we have families, to amplify the voices of other people who are doing great work. So if we think of the world, there's probably, you know, if you're a thinking person, there's at least 50 things out in the world that should break your heart because they're messed up, you know, but maybe there's only one or two of them that you feel passionate enough that you're going to donate your time or your money to. But you've got 5 other friends, or you know of 5 or 10 other people in the world who are working really hard on those other issues that you think are important. You can work to amplify their voices. And that's another form of activism. Mm-hmm. But I really believe that art is a way that we bring humor, we bring love, we bring light, we bring energy when the wheels start to slow down to the movements that we see. And that's why I've been so inspired seeing everything that's happening in the streets, not only in America, but really around the world. Young people waking up to finding their activist voice, either in the streets or online or through their creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what you both said. I think that activism is a pretty wide umbrella, and many different kinds of things fit under it. I was teaching a poetry class in the spring as the pandemic hit and we had to move online. And I remember talking to some of my students, even some of my poet friends, and we were all a little despondent, thinking that we didn't really have much to say, or couldn't really concentrate, or maybe that something that seemed maybe internal or effete, like poetry, didn't really have a place in the world right now, given what was going on. But I think that poetry and music and art are an alternative discourse to the data-based rhetoric that we tend to hear all the time. And you need this other source of sort of deeper wisdom or deeper thinking to sort of right yourself, right? You're talking earlier about wellness. And I think of art and creation as this form of emotional and psychic wellness that helps kind of balance the ship. And that makes me, Michael, want to ask you a little bit about your time at USF. You mentioned going to San Francisco and studying poetry. We also share this connection with Father Albert Huerta,
yeah,
who I understand was really your inspiration for poetry. And I worked fairly closely with him toward the end of his life on developing a class on San Francisco poetry. And he was a really, really interesting guy who embodied this kind of thing you were talking about, creativity and activism. And I'm wondering if you could say a little bit about your time working with him at USF.
Yeah. So Father Huerta was my first English teacher. I forget what the class was, English 101 or whatever. And I had miraculously, or perhaps, deviously made it through 12 years of, graduating through high school without ever learning to write an essay. And I show up, first day of class, Father Huerta is there. And just so you can get a picture of him, he's Latino guy, bald head, wears spectacle like John Lennon glasses, and very tiny. I'm 6'6". He's maybe 5'3" with his big boots on.
Yeah.
and a priest. And I'd never been in a class with a priest either. And so the first thing he says is, you in my class, everyone either gets an A or you fail. And I was like, packing my books up. Like, I've never got an A in anything, like maybe PE, maybe art, and that's it. But, and I was an undiagnosed dyslexic kid growing up. I was challenged by reading. I didn't like school. I was in schools where I just felt like I was an outsider and didn't fit in. Academia was not my thing. So I was super intimidated by it. But what Father Huerta said after that changed my life. He said, what I mean by that is I will not allow you to turn in anything less than an A grade paper, and I will work with you to get it to that point. So you've got class time. If you come knock on my door at 4 a.m, if you want to meet at a cafe, if you just call me in the middle of the night and say, I need help, I will help you. He's like, and he said to me, he goes, what else have I got to do? I'm a priest. He's like, and so I did that. I called on him, and I would show up, and we would sit after class, sometimes for hours, and he'd help me rewrite papers, and he showed me how to organize my thoughts into a thesis and to write the paragraphs of supporting my thesis, and then to come up with a conclusion. And it changed the way that I wrote, and it changed the way that I thought. And I believe that music is the sound of feelings, and writing, no matter what form you do, is just an organization of words. So if you're doing persuasive writing, you're organizing an argument. And if you're writing technical writing, you're organizing, how somebody does something. And if you're doing writing as poetry, you're organizing those words into like music to create feeling.
Yes.
And so Father Huerta, when he and so from that, he took me to City Lights bookstore. He took me to meet Bob Kaufman. He took me to read Lawrence Ferlinghetti, like all the huge icons of poetry. And that's why I named my first group the Beatniks, because we were like this group of young Black rebels who were just like, we wanted to be poets, And so many years passed, 15 years, 16, 17, I can't remember exactly how many, but I get this call saying that, Father Huerta is in hospice now, and you should come because, he'd really love to see you, and he probably doesn't have that much time. And so I go there to see him, and he's in bed, and his voice is very soft, and he's kind of whispering to me, and he says, Michael, here I am. And, I'm close to checking out, but, I have this rapidly advancing form of testicular and colon cancer. And the doctor said I could have a month in his words, if they cut off my balls. And again, he says, I'm a priest. What do I need them for? Of course, I want another month to live. This is just to tell you the type of guy he was, So during that last several weeks of his life, I would go to the hospice, and I'd bring my guitar, and I would sing him songs, and we would talk. And he would sing the words to my songs. And he, even his voice was gone, because in the last few days he had no more voice, he was still mouthing the words to my lyrics, and it moved me so much. And I asked him, when I said, how do you know, like, in 15 years, like, I haven't seen you, how do you know all my songs? And he pulled out this binder of CDs, and he had every one of my CDs in this binder. And I was so moved by the fact that he, even though I hadn't kept in touch with him, he had kept up with what I was doing, and I guess the thing that I really learned from being at USF is that there's values that we have in life. And, as an activist, like, you can follow the news cycle, and it's like, just in the last, 8 or 10 days, we had, the president's taxes revealed. We had the debate. Then the president got COVID. Then he came back from COVID. Then he, came to the White House, and like you could write about any one of those things, but as soon as that 24-hour cycle goes away, we're going to be on to the next thing. But values don't change. And that is how I try to write my music today, which is when I first started, I was writing angry political songs about the world. And I realized it was the same 100 people at my show every day, in every city, not literally the same 100 people, but it seemed like it. They're all people who agreed with my perspective. But when I went and performed in a prison, I performed in San Quentin prison one time, and this guy came up to me and he goes, I've been here for 20 years. We haven't had live music here in that whole time. And when you played, it was like the walls just disappeared. And he said, but all your political songs, although I really agreed with them and I was down with what you're saying, he said, it's Thanksgiving today, and more than anything else, I wish you would have sang a song about how much I miss my girlfriend and my kids on Thanksgiving. And the same thing happened when I went to play on the streets of Iraq in 2004, and I'd walk the streets of Baghdad playing my guitar for Iraqi families in daytime, and then I'd go play for U.S. soldiers at night. And these families would say to me, it's really great that you're here. We really appreciate that you came all this way and you're singing these political songs, but we wish you would sing us a song that would make us laugh or dance or cry or sing or help us to get through this time. And so it really made me shift to, instead of writing songs about issues, to write about the values of the heart.
That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. We don't have a whole lot of time left because I want to try to convince you to play one more song. But you had mentioned how Father Huerta sort of motivated you or connected with you when you were a student. And I'm wondering, Sara, Michael, what you might want to say, if anything, to the USF students who might be watching now from literally across the globe. I think we have students from all 50 states and maybe 80 some countries, about getting involved, about being politically active, voting, anything that you might want to say to our student body?
Yeah. Well, in my very short and humble life, I've come to realize through my own ups and downs that the greatest impact that you can make in the world is by truly being your authentic self. And I had to learn that there's 3 things that I had to discover and find within me to be able to live in this place of authenticity, which means to just be you. And that means, as I mentioned, getting clear on your values. Like Michael said, like figure out what breaks your heart, what's important to you. And then tapping into your courage within you to live in those values, because sometimes it might mean disappointing someone that you really care about, that's important to you. And then as you go through this journey, hold this self-compassion. Try to move away from this place of judgment on yourself, because we are in constant evolution, and your values should also change. Your values are going to change as you have more experiences in your life, and you're going to look back 10 years from now and you're going to have a new set of values. And so you're in this constant evolution. And so we have to be kind and gentle to ourselves as we go through this process, which is really important. And I feel like that's going to give you longevity, authenticity, and the people around you will feel it and they'll believe it. So whether it's in your work or in your friendships or in your families, trying to live in this place of authenticity and just being you will allow you to make the biggest impact in the world.
Yeah. And also that when you're in school, you have this time. It's like, and not everyone has this time. So if you're in school, if you're fortunate, but there's this buffer that you have between being just basically a kid to being an adult and having to be adulting out in the world. And when you're in school, you have this little window where you can focus on yourself and where you have like this team of people who are surrounding you that are, teachers, other students, other, faculty, other people that you meet through the community, alumni, that you can reach out to and say, hey, I need help with something, and that, you know, moment when I finally was able to reach out with Father Huerta and go, hey, I need help. Like, I'm not going to pass your class unless, you give me some extra outside class help. And he did. There are people who you can find who will do that. And it's not always a teacher. Sometimes you can create that relationship with a teacher, but a lot of times it's other students. And the other thing is to ask yourself, not what I want to be in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, or how do I want to get rich and retire? It's like, what do you want to do right now? Like, what is exciting to you right today? And I think that is the thing that really led me to do what I wanted to do in life, which is to really commit myself to music. And when I wanted to make a film, I was like, I want to make a film right now. I don't want to go to film school. So I picked up a camera and I just started shooting a film, and I've made 2 films now. I want to think about, maybe I'll find some investors and build a hotel. I just bought some land, built 5 rooms, and then it just kept growing until, now we have a 32-room hotel. It was like, I just always would ask myself, what is it that I want to do right in this moment? Because if I'm doing something that other people are telling me that I should do or is right for me, I'm not going to attack it with the full passion that I have and with all the resources that I have. I'm constantly thinking I'm second guessing what I'm doing. But if I'm doing what I believe in and what I love and what I'm inspired by, then I find that passion, that love, and that way through it. And it doesn't always turn out the way we want, but if we do go through it with, like I said earlier, working hard and being kind to people, showing up for people, and giving them more in value than you expect in return, in terms of love, in terms of your kindness, your attention, your focus, then ultimately we'll come around full circle. And the thing that you thought you were super in love with, you might open a door to 5 other new things that you never knew could even be part of your life.
I do want to share a fun fact about Michael. So when I first met him, I come from a place of like, I come from Middle Eastern descent. You are either a nurse, a doctor, an engineer. You donate to your pension and you get your mortgage and you're set, So that's the family that I came from. So when I met Michael, I said, what was your plan B if music didn't work out? And he goes, plan B? There was no plan B. I had to make plan A work no matter what. And that really inspired me. And I feel like that's allowed me to grow too, is that sometimes you have to just take a chance on what really fires you up. And it may change your path. It may make your life look a little different, but to believe in yourself and take a chance on yourself.
And also education is changing, because it used to be that people could start in a career when they were 23, 24 years old, and they could retire at age 55 and live off their pension. There's very, very few people who do that today.
Yeah.
And education has to also meet the needs of where students are at today, that people are going to change careers multiple times in their life. And it might be that you're coming to school at age 20, but also might mean that you're coming back at age 35 to retrain to do something else. Or it might be that what you're learning in school right now isn't as important as being outside in the world and doing what you're doing, but you might still need to come back to school at a later point. There's all different ways, all different formulas that are now working for people. And especially being in San Francisco and being in the tech world, I mean, we see it, people who are who never went to school who are doing it. And then there's people who have PhDs who are required in those very same companies, working side by side with people who never went to school, in order to create great ideas or bring great ideas to life. And for each of us, we just have to decide, what is the best for us, and how is it that we can show up. And I guess one final thought is that Sara and I have a family motto. It's inside of our wedding rings. It's be your best, serve the greater good, and rock out wherever you are. And what that means to us is to be your best is not to be the best. It means try to improve yourself every day. Try to find some way to get to your growing edge. And serve the greater good means find ways that you can use your talents, your abilities, your resources to give back to serving that which is greater than yourself. And I believe that even in business today, every company has to have that social impact blueprint that is part of their DNA of their company, because can't rely on governments. We can't rely on just big things out there that are the goodwill. We all have to play our role within our communities to make them better.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final thing is rock out wherever you are, which means never lose that enthusiasm, that love for life, that fun, that joy, because that's ultimately what we're trying to achieve in the world for all of us.
Yeah.
And to allow that joy to happen for every single person.
Aren't those three things part of the Holy Trinity? Be yourself, hope you're good, rock out wherever you are. We can ask Father Paul about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the basis of all religions.
It is.
All right. Maybe we can hear a little bit. Maybe we could hear a little bit from Plan A. You could rock us out with "Say Hey, I Love You."
I will. When I started in music, as I mentioned, we were just traveling in a van, and then I started this other group. My first group broke up, so I started another group called Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy. We had this song called "Television, the Drug of the Nation," and it was heard by, we were actually on the same label as U2, and it was heard by Bono and the band, and they were starting this tour called the Zoo TV Tour, and they wanted to use my song "Television, the Drug of the Nation" to open their tour, and they put it on the big screens and they started the show. And it was the first tour that used like the massive video walls. And so they invited us to come on tour with them. So here we are, this little van following 200 trucks and tour buses around and playing in stadiums in support of U2. And one day Bono invites me onto their airplane, because we had this really long drive, like, overnight, 20-hour drive or something. Said, come on our plane. And so I got each of the guys in the band a gift. And so for Bono, I knew that he was a devout Christian. So I had gone to this carnival, like Caribbean Mart in Toronto, and got him this Ethiopian cross. So I give it to him on the airplane, and he says, thanks a lot. And I said, you know what this is? He says, yeah, it's the Ethiopian Orthodox cross. And I know that because I was in Ethiopia and working there during the famine, and we had finished this touring with the Joshua Tree album. Suddenly we went from being this minor league group to being this household name, and I was really questioning my value, like, what does songwriting mean? Why do I even do this? And so he went with his wife to work in this village in Ethiopia, and he worked in the hot sun on the first day, toiled, his hands were blistered, he was sunburned. He went into this little hut he was living in, and at the end of the day, that there was a call from this person who invited him to meet the chief of the village. The chief sits him down and says, Mr. Bono, we really appreciate you coming here. Thank you so much for your hard work, but you've set us back 3 days while we watched you fumble with a shovel digging a well. And he's like, even here in Ethiopia, we know about you too. And in our community, being a songwriter, being a storyteller, being a poet, being a griot is the highest, most revered position. And what we want you to do is write songs. So him and his wife wrote these 3 songs. One was about boiling water before you drink it. Another one was about practicing safe sex. Another one was, I can't remember what the other one was, but they wrote these songs and they made these little dances and they taught them to the kids in the village, and it became part of the oral history of this community. And Bono looked at me and he said, Michael, don't ever underestimate the value of a song, even a pop song, because these songs are the things that get people through the moments of their life, or their emotions, their graduations, their passing away of a loved one. And so I remember when my father passed away, there was a U2 song, The Sweetest Thing, that became the song for me that I would listen to, and it made me grieve. It made me cry. It made my heart open up, and I'd listen to it over and over again. And it got me through that rough time. And so during all my years, decades in music, we had never had a song on the radio. And finally, I was on tour, my appendix ruptured, and I get this text like, Michael, your song, you have a hit song. it's like, it's number 10, it's moving up the charts. It's going to be double platinum. We had never had a record that was double linoleum. So, and I look at the doctor and I'm like, you better freaking fix me, because I want to hear my song on the radio one time before I die. But the song was this song that just said that the more I travel around the world, the more I see, the less I know. The more I see, the less I really realize that I understand about life. But there is one thing that it's proven over and over again that I know, which is that I love the people who are in my life, the people who are most valued to me, my kids, my family. And so I had written a song about that, and we put a kind of a cool beat to it, and it did really well. It became our first, top 10 song after 20 years of trying. But here's the lyrics. It goes like this. I say, hey, I'll be gone today, but I'll be back coming around the way. It seems like everywhere I go, the more I see, the less I know. But I know one thing, that I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. I've been a lot of places all around the way. I've seen a lot of joy and I've seen a lot of pain, but I don't want to write a love song for the world. I just want to write a song about a boy and a girl. Junkies on the corner always calling my name, and the kids on the corner playing ghetto games. When I saw you getting down, girl, I knew it was you. And when I look into your eyes, I knew it was true. I say, hey, I'll be gone today, but I'll be back coming around the way. It seems like everywhere I go, the more I see, the less I know. But I know one thing, that I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. Now I'm not a highly metaphysical man, but I know when the stars are aligned, you can bump into a person in the middle of the road, look into their eyes and you suddenly know. Rocking in the dance hall, moving with you, dancing in the night or in the middle of June. Yes, my mama told me don't lose you, cause the best luck I had was you. I say, hey, I'll be gone today, but I'll be back coming around the way. It seems like everywhere I go, the more I see, the less I know. One thing, that I love you, baby girl. I love you, I love you, I love you. And here's the rock out part. Rocking in the dance hall, moving with you. Hey mama, close to you. Rocking in the dance hall, moving with you. Hey papa, kick off your shoes. Rocking in the dance hall, moving with you. Hey mama, close to you. Rocking in the dance hall, moving with you. Hey mama, 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 hey mama. Well, my mama told me don't lose you, cause the best luck I had was you. And I know, USF, that we love you. 1, 2, put your hands together, say, hey, I'll be gone today, but I'll be back coming around the way. It seems like everywhere I go, the more I see, the less I know. But I know one thing, that I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. Sing it at home, y'all. I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you.
Sara, Michael, thank you so much. This is a great way to spend an hour. I'm going to turn it over now to Father Paul Fitzgerald, the president of USF.
Sara, Michael, Dean, thank you so much. Sara and Michael, the way you looked at each other while you were singing that song, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. As Dostoevsky said, beauty will save the world. And so we need our poets, our troubadours, our griots today more than ever, because beauty will save the world. Thank you for joining us from, your place at Gilligan's Island, stranded somewhere in the Pacific. Thank you for being such a terrific example of what a USF education is all about. It's about wellness, it's about wholeness, it's about mindfulness, And thank you for like dedicating your lives, the two of you, to creating opportunities, whether it's at a concert or at your, retreat hotel, for people to find wholeness and healing and community and connection. And just the fact that you would reach out to folks who are broken by the world and by their societies and offer them a path to wholeness again, it's just beautiful. Work hard and be nice is a much better expression than the old Jesuit contemplative inaction. But contemplative inaction, right? It's about really being mindful, not when you stop being active, but being mindful while you're active in service to people. I just wish that St. Ignatius of Loyola had learned to play a guitar. He would have been like a rock star like you.
Well, it's not you, Father Paul. You can pick it up now.
Oh no, I have no coordination. I'm a spaz. I'm a total spaz. But thank you for that foundational notion that all of us are equal. And I would just add, in the eyes of God, God looks at every single one of us and sees beauty. God looks at every single one of us and sees God's self reflected back. And certainly the two of you are just lovely souls, beautiful souls.
Thank you.
So, Sara, thank you for, inviting us to be kind and gentle as we ride the waves of life. I love that. Ride the waves of life. You're obviously on a beach, so yeah. And Michael, I just want to say, when you and Sara and your son are driving around in your van, you can always crash at USF. I promise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Although you've got a much nicer space than I could give you. Your own place here in the city. And then Sara, I just, thank you for taking up all the technical support work. You just prove again that, as we say at USF, nurses can do anything.
Yes.
That's right. It's true.
Nurses rock. Nurses rule. Thank you for Michael, for just being this advocate for social justice your whole career long, your whole life long. The Black Lives Matter movement at USF, it's deep, it's personal, it's engaged. And, I'm really grateful that our students will be able to hear your remarks from this evening, the two of you, and recommit themselves to becoming learned, informed, centered advocates, to change the world from here. That's our motto, right? Change the world, but it's change the world for the better, not change the world to suit yourself.
I love what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said. It's like, make your activism be something that invites other people into it, and that's one of the things that all of us have to think about today is like, is our activism just putting other people down, or is it finding ways that we can get changed by bringing people together to solve big problems?
Social justice means that everyone finds a seat at the table. And so, that's the hard work of, we're all, but, the advocates are the one who are going to get the people who are oppressing to renounce oppression and to embrace their humanity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the most important work. Your Trinitarian question, Dean, so is the Father the source of all goodness in the world? Yes. Is the Son the one who serves to create, goodness in the world? Yes. And is the Holy Spirit the inspiration of rock and roll? Absolutely. So yeah. And then, Michael, let me just end with a very personal expression of my gratitude. I knew Al Huerta as well, and he was typical Jesuit, a character and a half. But Jesuits are all characters. But yeah, and there are things we can do without. But what we can't do without is a deep love for our students, and that real deep love for our students. But I have to tell you a secret: our lay faculty colleagues have that same deep love. And we're very few Jesuits now at USF. I think there are 4 Jesuits in the classroom, and we've got 550, 1,100 faculty members, full and part-time. And the thing that keeps them at USF is that they love their students. And Dean Rader here is a perfect example of that. So thank you for inviting us to allow the current injustices and the current crises of the world to break our hearts. Let that same sense of crisis stiffen our spines to make us stand up for justice and stand up for the oppressed and stand up for folks who don't yet have a place at the table. And Sara and Michael, thank you for being, examples of that spirit, and just then for being beautiful souls. This broadcast, this program is also an opportunity for all of our community to touch base again with our values. And one of the things that we're very committed to is that same philanthropic spirit that Michael and Sara are committed to. The USF Board of Trustees has raised more than $1 million of money that we give directly to our students, our current students, to help them pay their rent, to help them get the technology they need, to help them, with food insecurity. The trustees recently, at our most recent meeting, committed to raising $5 million more for that kind of direct relief. So for those of you who are watching from home or from on the road or wherever you are, if you'd like to join us in supporting our students so that every single one of our current students will earn his or her or their degree and take that next step, that immediate step into the joy and responsibility of adulthood that Michael talked about, we're happy to be in conversation with you about your willingness to support our students today. Dean, always the poet. So thank you for your beautiful, beautiful narration and curation of this conversation this evening.
Thank you, Father Paul.
And thank you for technical support from your son.
Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you, Gavin.
Well, thank you so much. This is just a personal thank you to the USF community for including me today and allowing me to also connect with this really inspiring community. And I was first introduced to it by coming to a basketball game just 1 year ago. And I knew that it was a community that I wanted to be part of and also help support Michael in continuing his participation as an alumni. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We didn't really touch on basketball, but I played basketball at USF. And one of the things that I learned there with Coach Pravelli and Coach Cosentino and Father Sunderland, who was the AD, was just that idea of working hard. Is that, if you can't dribble with your left hand, you go and you dribble with your left hand until your left arm is sore. And eventually your left arm starts to wake up and you start to be able to do things that you never imagined possible. And that has carried with me throughout my life in terms of approaching things that at first don't seem possible. I believe that I can achieve them. And then the second thing is that life is bigger than basketball, and for student athletes who are there now, not every student athlete is going to become a professional. Not even every student athlete is going to have a career in sports, but there are so many things that you learn when you play sports that open you up. And now is the chance while you're in school again to be that student. Let that, you have that athlete side of you, but let the student side of you explore and grow and wander as much as the athletic side of you is, and work as hard as you have been on the court to develop those traits that you will carry in life with you, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you work for somebody else, or just as a person who's in a relationship with a partner. All those things, it requires an incredible amount of diligence and hard work just to stay married. So, you're in the right spot. If you're at USF, you're in the right spot to be able to be both of those things. And I can't say that about every school that's out there and every athletic program that's out there, but USF is one of those places where you can really do both.
Yeah.
All right, team, the orchestra is about to play and we're going to get pulled off the stage. So we have to sadly wind things up, but you guys were so cool and so great. It was so much fun talking to you.
Thank you. We enjoyed talking to you.